Morning, everybody. Today we are going to be making blueberry oatmeal muffins. Now, we're making blueberry oatmeal muffins because we're currently learning about carbohydrates. And what's very interesting about something like muffins with fruit in it is that it has a lot of different types of carbohydrates in it. So, let's talk about carbohydrates. There are two different types, simple and complex. The simple carbohydrates in the muffins are the sugar and the blueberries. Blueberries naturally have fructose in it, which is the sugar that's found in fruit. Then we have some more complex carbohydrates. We have the fiber that's found in the blueberries as well, and the oats are going to have starch and fiber in them as well, and the flour is going to have a lot of starch in it as well. So this is a really great example of foods that have multiple types of carbohydrates within the same food. So let's take a look at our recipe. We have quick oats, flour, sugar, baking powder, salt, milk, eggs, oil, frozen blueberries. We're using frozen blueberries just because they're easily available, and if you don't have, you can use fresh ones if you want. We're using frozen. We are going to have a little bit of a topping on top, which is going to be cinnamon and sugar topping. Our recipe directions are: preheat the oven to 425 degrees, combine oats, flours, sugar, baking powder, and salt in a bowl. In another bowl, combine milk and eggs and oil. So dry in one, liquid in another. We've done this before, the conventional method. Add the liquid ingredients to the dry ingredients. Mix until moist. Do not overmix. We do not want to overdevelop our gluten, so we don't want to overmix these. We're going to fold in the blueberries. Fill the greased muffin cups, 3/4 of the way filled. Instead of grease, I'm going to be using my papered muffin tins, just like this. Mix topping ingredients, sprinkle over the muffins, bake for 20 to 25 minutes. Let's get started. First, we are going to do our dry ingredients in a bowl and our liquid in another. Let's do dry first. Oh, another thing. The recipe I'm posting is for 12 muffins. I'm going to be cutting the recipe in half to only be 6 muffins because I don't need to be making that many muffins, okay? It's easy to cut recipes in half or double them or even quadruple them if you need to. I'm cutting mine in half, so if you're doing this at home and you're looking at these measurements saying these are a little different, I'm just letting you know I'm only making 6 muffins. The recipe's for 12, so the recipe's in half, so it's going to be a little awkward. So the recipe calls for 1 1/4 cup quick oats, so I'm doing 1/2 cup and 2 tablespoons. My flour, flour is next, oats are first. Oh, that's my oven, just preheated. 1/2 cup, I can do the scoop, scrape method, 1/2 cup, 2 tablespoons, 1, 2. Now it's time for flour. The flour is the same exact amount. I want to scoop my flour into my measuring cup so it's not overly packed. One tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. That's my flour. Now I need my sugar. Normally it's 1/3 of a cup, so it's going to be 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons. One, 2 tablespoons, 1, 2 teaspoons. Now I have my baking powder. I need half of a teaspoon for that. And I'm going to need the same, well, actually it's going to be 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to do it over a separate bowl. Scrape it off in there. So that's all my dry ingredients in one bowl. Beauteous. Now I need my liquid. Milk, egg, oil. Milk. For my milk, I'm only going to need half a cup. Let's do a little some glass here. I'm going to be bending down, watching as I'm measuring. See, I went over a little much. So I'm going to be pouring it back in. Beautiful. Half a cup of milk. Now, interesting thing that's about to happen is the recipe calls for 1 egg, but I'm cutting the recipe in half, so I'm actually going to need a half an egg. So back in the beginning of the year, we talked about how to do this. So how do I only use half an egg in a recipe? Well, I'm going to crack it into my bowl like I would normally do. Now I'm only going to need half. So just wanted to wash my hands real quick since I just touched the egg. I'm going to want to mix this egg up because I'm going to want equal parts yolk and equal parts white. So I'm going to use this butter knife to kind of whisk this all together. Now, I'm going to need to measure out about half of this. As you should know from experience, this is going to be about 1/4 of a cup, but if you want to, you can measure it out just to double check that it is. And 1/4 of a cup if you hold it flat. So I know that half of a 1/4 is, there's 4 tablespoons in 1/4 of a cup, so I'm going to need 2 tablespoons of this egg mixture. Now it's going to be kind of hard to do because the white, the albumin, is a little strong. That's okay. And that is my half an egg. Beautiful. Now I need a 1/4 cup of oil. Just wash out my liquid measuring cup real quick. So I have a nice clean liquid measuring cup. I'm going to need actually 2 tablespoons of oil since I'm cutting the recipe in half. So good thing I double checked. I'm going to be measuring my oil over a separate container. 2 tablespoons. 1. And 2. So liquid in one bowl, my dry in another. I'm now going to mix my liquid in with my dry for my step 4, add liquid ingredients to the dry ingredients. Now I'm going to just mix until just combined because I don't want to over mix it all up. Making sure I'm scraping my sides down. Gorgeous. All mixed up. Last is my frozen blueberries. The recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of frozen blueberries. This can be cut in half in 1/4 and 2 tablespoons or 6 tablespoons. I'm going to do the 1/4 and 2 tablespoons. Except for I need a tablespoon, so I'm going to Alright, I have my frozen blueberries right here. Alright, 1/4. And 2 tablespoons. 1, 2. Now, a little trick is to take some of the dry ingredients and mix it in the blueberries in order to make it so that they are suspended within. Because I already mixed it up, I'm just going to take a little bit of flour and mix it in there so that they don't fall to the bottom. So I'm taking a teaspoon, putting that over the blueberries. And I'm coating the blueberries in flour, and hopefully this will prevent them from all sinking to the bottom. No promises though. Alright, I'm going to mix it up. Beautiful. Now I'm going to portion scoop these in. If you do not have a portion scoop, you can use 1/4 of a cup. So, should have made 6, but it only really made 5. I guess I could have better evenly distributed them to make them 6, but there it is. Now I'm going to make my topping. So I want to make a nice topping to put on top, kind of give it a little bit of a glaze, a little bit of extra flavor. It's sugar and cinnamon together, so it's 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, or 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, so it's only half, so 1 and 1. One tablespoon of sugar. Now it's the topping, so you don't have to be super careful about measuring, but you know, try to be as accurate as you can. And 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Mix it in together. Sprinkle it on top. Alright, now we're going to bake these for 20 to 25 minutes. So that always means you put it in for 20 minutes and then check on them. See you in 20 minutes. So, it's been 25 minutes, and I just took the muffins out of the oven. They look like this, and I stuck a toothpick in a few of them and pulled it out, and it came out clean, as you can see. It does have a little bit of blueberry dye on it, but the blueberry muffins are baked all the way through, that's how you can tell. So I'm just going to let these cool, and yeah, beautifully delicious blueberry muffins with simple and complex carbohydrates.